The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, hello and welcome here on a Thursday, final day hosting this show. This week, Remouse filling in for Justin Kinner. It's Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. You know, as we were coming in, you play the intro. Everyone has their little line, right? I think we're batting 80%, like 800 on all those lines. Yes, the Browns stink, Casey. Officially, the season, the 2024 season, is done. Elliott.
That's right.
As we saw last week, you get the ball to Drew Sample in open space, and you see what happens. And as we all know, Joe Burrow is and should always be the MVP of the league. The only one that's not going to happen is Lamar Jackson winning another MVP this year.
No. That's right. He certainly won't. But the crux of that take is right because he's also still not going to have playoff success. So I'll count that as a win.
Okay, so 4.5.
Yeah,
4.5 out of 5. We got a fun show for you guys today. I already mentioned that I'm filling in for Justin Kinner, Jacob Tissett. You already heard from him. Elliott Rearing, Casey McAllister. You guys know the players. Rocking your Potters National hat.
I am. I like this hat. I like this hat a lot.
Great hat.
They just started a
Very
new
fairly
hat
priced.
campaign.
Really?
Yeah, so par at Potters is 69.
Okay.
And my dad,
I like this.
running the
I like
course,
where we're going.
has started commissioning here at Headlines par 69 hats.
I
Just says
love it.
Par 69.
I'm very glad I didn't buy that hat, even though it is a nice hat, because I will be buying a par 69 hat.
Now, does it have a rope on it?
I believe it does.
That's crucial.
That's all I needed
Absolutely.
to hear.
I'm rocking
Jacob's,
a rope hat.
you are wearing a rope
I'm
hat.
currently wearing a rope hat. I'm anti. I used to be anti-rope hat. Like I remember, like 2 years ago, people were talking like rope hats are in, and I was like, ugh. At that time, they didn't make rope hats. They were the floppier hats.
Yeah.
They were the floppier hats. Floppier hats. I got a big head, both literally and figuratively. They looked weird on my head, but now they're like the old trucker style hats, and those look better. So now I like the new rope hats.
I never wore a rope hat until I think the Memorial. We went to the Memorial and I saw it. I'm like, I don't think I've honestly ever seen it. Maybe I've seen it. I've never paid attention to it. Jacob's like, yeah, the rope hats are sick. So I went and bought a rope hat. Now I'm addicted to rope hats. In fact, now I won't buy a hat unless it's got a stupid rope on it.
Nice.
love 'em.
How quick will they go out of style?
I don't know.
It depends what else you can. What can you replace
What else
the
can you
rope
put
with?
on the hat?
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to predict fashion trends. That's not what I'm doing here today. I'm not going to sit
Why
here and be
not?
like, this is going to be the next hat that comes out. No, I'm not doing that. But
I don't
hats
know, we
do
can
come
strike
and
gold.
go. Hats do come and go. Like, styles do come very, very, very quickly. I bought a rope hat. I saw Dylan Gossett, up-and-coming country singer, at Top Cat's Bar in Cincinnati back in March. R.I.P. I think that bar is now closed.
Is it really?
Yeah, someone told me Top Cats has recently closed.
No way.
It was awesome. I saw Dylan Gossett in front of 25 people. Now he's selling out shows in Europe. But beside the point, that's a floppy hat. I got a floppy hat. Don't care for it a whole lot. Don't care.
I
for
don't
it a
like
whole
the
lot.
ones with the big bills. You know those ones? Some hats have just like long, for some reason, just longer bills. Don't like that at all.
I used to have a hat with a comically large bill.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Like you're talking like Sandlot, the fish hat.
Yes.
Like funny, like bigger.
Bigger.
Yeah, it was Party City purchase.
It was this way, not Doug Dimmadome.
Yes,
Under
yes.
the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
That's correct.
Casey Rue, how are you doing on this fine Thursday?
I'm doing good. I'm doing great.
Your hat doesn't have a rope on it.
No, it doesn't.
Does
but
have a winner on it.
Yeah.
It does have a winner. That's right.
You're rocking Bengals shirt too. You look good. You look ready to roll. It's we got a busy week ahead of us. I have a wedding tomorrow evening and I have a rehearsal dinner tonight. So I'm gonna.
Congratulations.
Thanks. I've got I feel bad. I do feel bad every time that I've got something to do because like. I try to do as much around here. And now I'm gonna have to divvy it out and stuff. So hopefully we get through these next few days. Right when the show ends, I got to go set up a Miami broadcast for tonight. It's a big women's soccer game, so that's exciting. But it's all the same. We made it.
Who they got on the pitch?
Shoot.
Is it a Mac? Is it a Mac? Is it a Mac?
It is a
game?
Mac.
It's a Mac game.
Well,
It's
Northern Illinois.
Oh my God.
So I told this story. I sent this to Jimmy after our Notre Dame Fighting Irish lost to Northern Illinois. So we've been doing these Miami University games now for 2 years. This year, I don't think Casey was there, but I was there. They were supposed to play, Miami University was supposed to play Northern Illinois on a baseball game. And normally I show up, 2 hours before the game. And baseball is weird in that fact that, like, other sports, they show up 90 minutes before the game, they get ready to roll. Baseball, they show up like 3 hours in advance. You got to hit on the field, you got to throw, you got to do all this stuff. And I show up, like, I was a little late, hour 45 before the game, and Northern Illinois isn't there yet. Miami's sitting on the field. Northern Illinois is nowhere to be seen. Miami finishes their BP. Northern Illinois is nowhere to be seen. So it's like an hour before the game, and I'm like, what the heck's going on? Where's Northern Illinois? Their bus broke down. So also another thing, Miami, when they come to play Miami, they stay in Hamilton, and then they drive up to Oxford, 20-minute drive. Their bus broke down in the town between Hamilton and Oxford, right around the Millville area. And instead of fixing the bus, instead of calling a mechanic, doing whatever, I don't know, getting these guys to the field, they call up Miami, and they say, hey, Coach Smiley, first-year head coach, can your boys come pick us up? So I saw all these Miami baseball players leave the stadium, get in their Toyota Corollas and Honda Civics, and just start driving down the road. And one by one, they start dropping off Northern Illinois Huskies. Like 30 minutes past, kid dropped off. 10 minutes, kid dropped off. And then it's just like one by one. It was like Noah's Ark. They just started coming and dropping them off. And it was the most hilarious thing. Because, like, I imagine that would happen at Bluffton University, right? Like, I imagine that's something we do. Like, our bus broke down. Can you come pick us up? Can you give us a ride? Or we start hitchhiking the 5 miles to the field, whatever it is, to get playing. But no, it happened at prestigious Division I conferences. So after Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois, I told Jimmy Collins, big Notre Dame fan, that story to make him feel better. And I think it is accomplished, because that's how you know you're a high-tier program, when the opposing team is picking you up and dropping you off at the field. I just thought that was
sure that's softened the blow.
It just means more
It does.
in the MAC. That's what it does. Could you imagine Alabama picking up Auburn players on the side of the road? No, they wouldn't. They'd probably have the police come and arrest them all.
Well, that's
what they
Georgia.
do. Well, that would be Georgia.
Yeah.
But yeah, good for the MAC. I love
Probably
the
would
MAC.
have to pick up the Georgia players. They can't drive.
It's true.
Hey,
as a MAC alumnus, I can very much say that we care about each other in that conference.
You didn't graduate from the
I don't think you know.
I am an alumnus. I am alumnus.
You
of
didn't
the MAC.
graduate. Also, hey, Craig in the chat, what a bad joke. What a distasteful joke. I didn't like that joke. I went to the school. I can make little puns. I don't care for that joke. It's a bad joke. Come on, man. It is funny. So, like, if you don't know, about in 2008, Bluffton had a very severe bus crash. It took the lives of like 6-7 people, a bunch of baseball players, on the way down to their Florida trip. Every time I told someone, they'd go like, "Oh, you're in college? Where you go to school?" I was like, I go to this little school in Northern Ohio, play baseball there." They're like, "What is it?" I was like, "Bluffton University." Like, "Oh, is that the bus crash school?" And I'm like, "It sure is." So that's what we're known for. That's what but because of Bluffton University, every charter bus now has seatbelts. So there you go. That's how Bluffton affected the world. That's
good. I'll tell you what. It's
good change.
Yeah, it is very, very good change.
It is good change. But you guys, we made it through 2 days. I don't know how you guys are feeling. We made it through 2 days without football.
Yes.
But we're back. Thursday night football tonight.
I'm itching.
I need playoff baseball at the very least to get me through, because MACtion starts in November, right? It starts once playoff baseball's over. But you get so wound up on Saturday college football, Sunday NFL, Monday night football, then it's just like, whoa, oh man, don't get football for 2 days, but we're getting back to it on Thursday night.
I read this stat to them. The Jets play the Patriots tonight. It is the first time in 25 games, where the New York Jets are favored against the New England Patriots. An absolutely mind-boggling stat. I truly wish baseball would get rid of the month of September. I think it's worthless. Playoff baseball starts in September, and then it helps void the gap until we get MACtion, and then literally every day is football. But this past month of baseball, maybe just because my team's out of it. Reed, I know his team is also out of it now. But it's miserable to watch. Do you think the baseball season has gone fast or slow? I was having this debate last night with a couple of friends. I think it's gone really fast.
I have a long take that everyone complains about how long the baseball season is.
Yeah.
When you compare it to other professional sports seasons, it's about the same.
Yeah.
It's like the NBA is longer. The NBA runs from October and goes almost to July.
Yeah.
Baseball starts in April, ends in October. Like that's what, 6 months. And if you start in October and go to July, that's 9. Like that's like in football starts in September, goes until middle of February. Quick math, that's about 5. Like it's not that much longer than every other sport. It's just that there's games. I don't know. It flew by. You get older and life you just continue to just keep on flying through life. So what was the stat that you gave yesterday of that you were a little disgruntled about when it came to the Cincinnati Reds?
Oh, you're talking about the one I texted you guys?
Yeah. So the Reds were eliminated from postseason play.
Woo!
Yep.
And you weren't even allowed to sit in an open section.
Well, I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But yeah, so I got a stat from our dear good friend Chris Vanell, and Chris texted me this stat, and it was wild. Since winning the World Series in the year 1940,
Mickey Mouse World Series.
Mickey Mouse World Series, the Cincinnati Reds. I'll give the chat and the listeners on the radio a little bit of time to think about this. Since winning the 1940 World Series, how many times have the Reds made the postseason since the year 1940? I'll give everybody some time to think about it.
I know the answer.
We all know the answer. But I heard this, and I'm like, is that
84
right?
years.
So I had to go Google and make sure this was the correct information. And that's 100% correct. Reed kind of shined a light on why that was, and that made more sense to me. So let's see. Any guesses? Any guesses? I'm going to say it now. Since 1940, the Reds have made the postseason 13 times.
In 84 chances.
84 years, they've made the playoffs 13 times. 13 times.
So I was telling Elliot,
Terrible.
It sounds terrible. It truly does. And the reason it sounds terrible is because, as we know, the last 30 years haven't been very good. But from 1940 to 1993, so how the baseball postseason used to work. The World Series started in 1903. And from 1903 until expansion in 1968, when like the Mets and all these teams started the first really big expansion happened. Only 2 teams in the entire Major League Baseball made the postseason. You had to win the American League or you had to win the National League regular season, and then you played each other. That went all the way until 1968. After expansion in 1968, they made each league into 2 divisions, an East and a West. The Reds were famously in the West, even though they were farther east than teams like the Cubs and the Cardinals who were in the East. Beside the point, they were in the West with like the Dodgers and the Padres and everyone like that. And from 1968 until 1993, only 4 teams in all of Major League Baseball made the postseason. 2 in the National League, so you had to win your division. So it makes sense when you put the context in it that like it was incredibly hard to make the postseason until 1993 when they expanded it to 4 teams, the wild card era and stuff like that. And the reason that the Reds number isn't higher is because in the last 30 years, when other teams are starting to inflate their numbers, the Reds haven't been doing that. Like I would garner to say that up until 1993, the Reds were easily a top 10 baseball franchise, maybe even closer to somewhere like in the top 6, 7. But since then, in the wild card era, the 3-division era, and all this stuff, and obviously it's expanded, and in 2011 to 5 teams in each league, and now we've got 6 teams in each league make the postseason. So it's just they haven't had a whole lot of success in the last 30 years, is why that number isn't higher. But we have a fun show for you guys today. We're gonna grade now that the Red season's officially not over, but they're not going to make the postseason. We decided it would be a lot of fun to go through players on the Reds and give them a grade. Be Mr. Tissett and Mr. Rearing and be Mr. McAllister and be the teachers of the Reds and give them an A, B, C, D, or F.
I'm excited for this.
And then we have a news segment.
Huh?
I might flunk them all.
Oh, I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do something like that, especially after what happened to me last night. This is gonna be the most negative I've ever been towards the Cincinnati Reds. But I don't hold grudges.
I love
it's
my favorite of all of your personality, of all your personality traits. Your ability to hold grudges, Elliot. We'll get into the story about you getting kicked out, maybe to begin the headlines. But then we're going to start a new segment in the second hour of the show. I call it "Step Up" or "Step In." And what the game is we're going to take the Bengals team, and we're going to say this player needs to step up or this player needs to step in. Who needs to play better and who needs to get more time out on the field? We'll be right back. You're listening and watching Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers on 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to Off the Bench. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kinner. It's been a fun week. It has been a fun week. It's been fun to be back on the show. I wish maybe I'll get back on Monday.
Ooh.
Because I won't be able to do the champion. If you want to plug, they're going to Champions, doing Chatterbox Bengals live at Champions Grill.
Champions Grill. They do have a bar, but it is Champions Grill tonight at 7 p.m. With knee.
On Work Road, also with knee.
Yes, WERK Road.
So you guys are doing that tonight at 7 p.m. So I won't be able to get there for that because the rehearsal dinner, like I said. But obviously the Bengals play next Monday on Monday Night Football. So I'm sure you guys are going to have a Bengals-centric Monday show. Maybe I'll hop back in here and we can talk some pigskin because it has been a lot of fun being in here this week. You went to your final Reds game of the year last night,
I did.
Elliot, and you had an interesting experience.
Here's the thing. I go to about 20 games a year, depending on if they're good or bad. I try to go to more than 20 games a year. I try to go, on the road when they're playing elsewhere. My buddies and I make a road trip out of it. I support the Reds, despite all my negativity. I know I come in here with a negative outlook, and I'm a pessimist, and I never have too many great things to say about the Reds. But I still support my team. That's my team. I'm allowed to be upset.
You root for the home team.
I root for the home team.
If they don't win, it's a shame.
In Great America Ballpark, they've had 7 winning seasons or 6 winning seasons, one of the two, in my life. And I have a bad outlook on the Reds because I feel like there should be more winning here. And there's not, and there hasn't been. And this year is another losing season that is unfolding upon us all. And so I go last night. I didn't really want to go, if I'm going to be honest. I didn't want to go to that game. But I have tickets, so I'm going to use the tickets. I'm going to go watch Ellie De La Cruz one more time. So I go down there. I look at the crowd. I get there about 5 minutes before first pitch. 5 minutes. Nobody's there. I don't know what the TV showed last night, but there was nobody there. It was the final bark in the park. So there was that one section that was really well filled. But outside of that, there was nothing. So I go and I sit. And usually what I do, I have the cheap seats and I come on down to the bottom rows there. And I go over to this one section by the foul pole. And I go and I try to sit down. I'm like, all right, nobody's in this section at all. I check via the ballpark app. If you have the MLB ballpark app, you can see who's bought the tickets. Because I don't want to sit in anybody's seats. I don't want to disrupt anybody else's time. So I make sure that nobody else is in the seats that I'm taking. I saw the joke now. So I don't want to disrupt anybody's time. So I go down and I sit in an empty seat that I know is empty because I just checked it. I go down to the bottom. And down comes the usher. The usher looks at me and he goes, "Can I see your ticket?" And I showed him the ticket and I just showed him my honest ticket, and it was section 525 up in the nosebleeds. And he looks at me and says, "You're going to have to leave. You're going to have to leave. Go back up to your seats." I'm like, okay. And I chuckled at him, and I started walking up, and he said, "Hey, that's not funny." I'm like, oh. You're kicking me out of a completely empty section. Nobody will sit in this seat all night long. I'm not disrupting anybody. There's no financial benefit for me sitting here that I would have had to buy to have this ticket to have that financial benefit. Like if you sit in the diamond seats, you're getting free food. So you could argue that that could be like stealing of some sort. I'm sitting in a seat. I'm just sitting in a seat towards the end of the third base foul line. That's it. But he kicked me out. So naturally, I just moved to the next section over. I gave him a wave from my new seat, and he didn't come over and say anything to me. But it's just crazy to me that on September 18th, we're kicking fans out of seats. We're doing the investigative work, and we're kicking fans out of their seats in a completely empty ballpark for a team that sucks.
Do you think it's because of the lack of fans there, and the Castellinis don't want the fans buying the cheap tickets sitting down low?
Yeah, I actually do think that's part of it. I think it also might have to do with, I saw some of the comments to my tweet, And it might be because of that guy who started sneaking
Filming, yeah.
around the ballpark. And maybe that's what it is. I truly don't blame the ushers. I truly don't blame the ushers because they have bosses and they have to do their job. But if I were Reds ownership and you look at one of the 400 fans out in your ballpark tonight, maybe let's not give them another reason to not show up. Because I feel like there's a lot of people that don't show up to Reds games, and it's because of stuff like this. So again, I'm not mad at the ushers. I'm not waging a war against the ushers of Great American Ballpark. I am a little upset that we're still cracking down on this with a week left in the season, and the team is out of has been eliminated from playoff contention.
Officially.
And they suck.
19,000 fans there last night reported attendance.
Yeah, 19,000. Okay.
18,959.
I'll take the under.
There's two things. One, this all wouldn't have happened if he just knew who you were.
That's true.
Like, you go to 20 games, you have a big following on Twitter. They should know who you are. They should know who you are.
Well, he got him to stop playing the song.
And correct. You did get them to stop playing. I'm a Reds fan. And then secondly, when you told this story off air, you said you sat down in the section next to you and you stared at the usher.
I did.
As you sat down. You got him.
Thank you.
You
I think
got
I
him
did.
good.
I gave him a stare. I gave him a little wave, and I sat back down on my seat.
So you've obviously thought about this morning. Do you think he has?
Yes.
Well, he saw the stare.
Oh, for sure.
He saw the stare. My favorite. I truly mean this. I love you, Elliot. I love your capacity to hold grudges.
Yeah,
I
thank you.
love your capacity. You are going to walk by that section for the rest of your time going to GABP, and you're like, that guy sucks. Like, every time you pass that section, you're going to look at that section and go, that usher sucks.
1,000,000%.
Yep.
1,000,000%. So I had a couple bits planned in case the guy was going to make an issue of my night.
Sure.
I was going to either A, lay down on the ground and force them to carry me up, which Reed said, Elliot, you wouldn't have done that.
You wouldn't have.
I was mad last night. I have friends that were there that would have attested I was going to do it. But the real thing I was going to do is I was going to wait till somebody came down, and I was just going to buy that ticket on the ballpark app. And I was just going to buy the exact seat that I was in.
That would have showed him.
Well, it wouldn't have showed them anything, but it would have been annoying for them. So
They
would have had to walk.
well, because it would have made him look like a liar, and that's what I wanted.
You're really good at showing them.
I hold a grudge.
Well, you fought me also.
Well,
I said you wouldn't leave. Like, you would not have laid down, and you're like, yes, I would have. No, you wouldn't have, Elliot.
Listen, people can do whatever they want. Ushers can do whatever they want. You want to
just doing his job.
If you want to guard the section like it's a military base, you go ahead and do so.
I'm just doing my job.
But there was nobody there last night, so let's maybe cool it with I'm going to guard these seats like it's some sort of great prize that we're keeping here. Great American Ballpark's housed 6 winning seasons, maybe 7. We'll see what Craig corrects me on.
It also housed Sammy Sosa's 500th home run and Pedro Martinez's 3,000th strikeout.
That it does.
I was in attendance for one of those two. I'll let you figure out which one it was.
That it does. But that was my night, so I tweeted it. And
that was your night. What was the night in the world of sports?
Good segue.
Elliot loves 3 things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
That was a special segue.
That's right.
That was really good.
The Reds, they lost. Whoopee! Jacob Junis went 6 innings, allowing 2 hits and an earned run. He struck out 6. Good work. Jonathan India and Ellie De La Cruz each had a triple. TJ Friedel brought home the lone run via a bunt. Good stuff by the offense. The Reds play this afternoon at 1:10. Chris Sale struts into Cincinnati with a 17-3 record and a 2.35 ERA. He takes on the ace of the team, Julian Aguilar, who is rocking a 4.88 ERA. Good luck to the Reds. Hope they win. Doesn't matter, though. Around the league, the Yankees, they hang on to beat the Mariners in extras. Anthony Rizzo drove in both runs. They are in the postseason officially. They were the second team last night to clinch. Rangers shut out the Blue Jays 2-0. Tariq Skubal earned his 17th win, as well as the Tigers beat the Royals 4-2. They are just a half game out of a playoff spot now. Many are saying that the sweep over the Reds sparked this run.
Nice.
Here's a fun Tigers
I'm not
stat
saying
for
that,
you.
but Jimmy's saying that. Yeah.
The Tigers were 55-63 at the end of play on August 10th. They are now 80-73, a half game out of the playoff spot. The only MLB team to ever make the playoffs in a non-shortened season after being 8+ games under 500 in August or later was the Mets in 1973.
Yeah.
So if the Tigers are able to make the playoffs this year, it would be historic.
How about that?
It's going to be interesting. So while we're doing these standings, like no team's going to win 100 games. I think the current leader is the Phillies.
91.
Phillies have 91. So like this, I wonder what the lowest wins to win the National League, or like the lowest wins to lead the American League is, because it's going to be like the Phillies are going to win 96, 95. That wouldn't be the lowest, but it's just surprising. It's been a while since we've had like one team win 96 games and then just a bunch of teams win 88 to 92.
Yeah. The Brewers, they walked off the Phillies last night 2-1. Jake Bauers being the hero. They won the NL Central, and they were the first team to clinch a playoff spot. So the Milwaukee Brewers, I don't think many people, including us in this room, had them to win this division. Good for them. I think Willie Adames spoke post-game, and he said, nobody thought we were going to be here. And they were. So good for the Brewers. They're always good.
They're going to win 90 games? Did they already win 90 games?
They're going to win 90 games. Yeah, I think so. Mets shut out the Nationals 10-0. They continue to have their lead for that final wild card spot. The Rays, they fall to the Red Sox 2-1. But Ryan Pepiot, I think that's how you say that?
Yeah.
Pepiot threw the 4th immaculate inning in Rays history. The 4th immaculate inning. Guardians took care of the Twins 5-4. Padres shut out the Astros 4-0. Dodgers, they crushed the Marlins. But Shohei Ohtani gets his 49th stolen base. He has 48 home runs, 49 stolen bases. So he's got a little bit of work to do still. Athletics beat the Cubs 5-3.
Yeah, it was funny. We were talking before the show, and Elliot, I don't know if I said something to upset him, but he just goes, the Athletics won yesterday. I was like, well, what a good dig. I still watch them. I lost faith last week when they lost. They got walked off twice by the Rockies in Colorado, which is a tough place to play.
It is a tough place to play. That's because they're almost 500 there. The White Sox, they lose to the Angels 4-3. They are now 36-117. Football news. The new ballot of NFL Hall of Famers was announced yesterday for the 2025 class. 16 players in their first year of eligibility are among the list of 167 modern-era players nominated for the Hall of Fame. That's an insane amount of players.
It's always about that big.
Is it always that big?
Yeah, they just whittle it down.
Interesting. There's 4 offensive linemen, the highest number among any position group. Among first-year players. Travis Frederick, Ryan Khalil, Joe Staley, and Marshall Yanda. Others making the list for consideration for the first time: quarterback Eli Manning, running backs Marshawn Lynch and Darren Sproles, wide receiver Demaryius Thomas, tight ends Vernon Davis and Delaney Walker, linebackers Luke Kuechly and Terrell Suggs, defensive backs Antoine Bethea, Aqib Talib, and Earl Thomas. Also, kicker Adam Vinatieri will be eligible for the Hall of Fame.
A lot of names on that list that seem like easy yeses.
I think so. The roster of nominees consists of 94 offensive players, 56 defensive players, and 17 special teams players.
I've mentioned this yesterday. So you brought up the Reds stat about them making the postseason only 13 times. So you asked how many times you think the Reds have made the postseason since 1940, and I started rattling off seasons that I knew that they did. Obviously, like 2020, 2013, and I just started like going down the line. And then you mentioned a lot of names on the NFL. My NFL knowledge prior to 2010, unless you are a quarterback, a loud wide receiver, a running back, or a generational linebacker, or you played for the Bengals, I don't know who you are. I just didn't have a whole lot of football cards to look on the back of back in the day. But baseball, I got you.
These guys in this room know I know a very specific group of players in the NFL. I know skill positions, and that's about it. If you have to ask me any offensive lineman pretty much ever, I know a few. But if you have to ask me like the center, like I just don't know any centers ever. I'm waiting for
the next leak of an Elliott not knowing what a play of football is. Like we did the draw last year.
Yeah.
And then the other one, what was the other one that we did? Oh, you thought every flats pass was a screenplay?
Yeah.
You thought every pass in the dump down in the flats was like they were just running that screen out to Chase Brown, and I was like, not a screen. I'm waiting for one of those.
I know 4 verts. I can't be wrong on 4 verts.
That's true.
I know shark wheel.
Yeah.
I know the shark wheel.
Shark wheel for sure.
And then outside of that, yeah, slants. I know slant. I know a good slant when I see it.
Do you know a bad slant when you see it?
I know a curl. A what?
A bad slant.
Yeah, I know a bad slant.
Okay.
I know a bad slant. I know the basics. I know a post. Post is when you go up into the out, right?
Up into the out.
Up into the
Up
out
into-
is
up-
not very descriptive.
You go straight and then to the sideline.
No.
Damn.
A post, where do you think you would take a post? How about to the post?
That's what I said, right?
The sideline would be the other way.
The post is in the middle of the
post
field.
is
It's
in
a
the middle
field
of
goal
the end
post.
zone. It's the field goal post.
Oh, so it cuts
So
back
if you're
in.
lined up inside in a corner, would be to the corner of the end zone, breaking towards the sideline.
Okay. All right.
Learn something new every day.
Teaching Elliot. That's it. That's a segment.
Maybe that's our next out of office film. We go
Teach Elliott an offense.
No, we go get a local UC or Miami wide receiver.
Yeah.
And we teach Elliott the wide receiving tree.
I like that.
And then we have former cornerback. People forget that Casey played on a semi-professional football team at the age of 19. What was that team called again?
The Northwestern Dukes.
The Northwestern Dukes. So I was talking about my baseball league one day, and Casey's like, I played in an adult football league, and we're like, what? And then we found out that he played on this travel football
incredible.
team that goes around and plays other cities' football team. He played one game, but he
One
played
quarter, in fact.
He played one quarter for the Northwestern Dukes, playing cornerback. So we're gonna have Elliott.
Do you think
trying to get open on Casey?
Do you think we could get one of these high school teams we work with to send 7-on-7 team out and we play against them? Our 7 against the high school's best 7 in a 7-on-7 showdown? That would be a phenomenal video.
One of my favorite stories of being in college is my dad coached freshman basketball after I graduated high school. He started wanting to coach freshman basketball over at Batum. So I was like a junior. I was 21 years old, and my dad's like, hey, we need someone to scrimmage. Can you gather up your boys to come play us? So I got 5 of my friends. We had 6 guys, and we played basketball against 14-year-olds.
Oh, yeah.
Very seriously for like an hour.
That rocks.
And it was so awesome. We didn't keep score. We won. We didn't keep score, but I made my first 2 shots. I shot 60 more times. It was so much. I mean, you don't know how much fun it was playing 14-year-olds that are trying to make it at high school, and we're just joshing around. Haven't ran up and down a court in 2 years, and it was so much fun. I would love to run a 7-on-7. I asked my high school baseball coach, like, hey, can I come pitch to the fellas sometimes? They're like, no, Reed, no, we've got D1 arms that throw to our guys. And I was like, I mean,
Okay.
I had a 3.6 in the Cincinnati Adult Baseball League ERA, so it's just whatever. We'll be right back. When we come back, we're gonna grade the Cincinnati Reds now that postseason aspirations are officially dead. We'll be right back on 1410 Wing AM. And we are back on Off the Bench on a beautiful little Thursday.
Beautiful Thursday.
Busy little day for Chatterbox. Obviously, we're going to do this show. Tom's show, Dialed In, is going to be live.
That's right.
Directly after Off the Bench. There's
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
be Chatterbox Reds after the matinee at a GABP today. And then there's going to be Chatterbox Bengals live from Champions Grill on the west side. That'll be at 7 p. Going out there. We want as many viewers as we possibly can, but we'd rather you show up to Champions Grill itself and take it in live.
That doesn't stop you from taking out your phone, playing it on mute while you're in the bar.
Okay, Jacob really wants those viewers. He does it. You know what? Bring as many devices.
Yeah.
If everyone that brings 6 devices to Champions Grill tonight and plays them live,
Every 2 devices, I'll get you a beer.
there you go. I was gonna say 5. And it'd be so funny. Michael Ackley, shout out to Michael Ackley, helps us on some of our high school stuff, and obviously a big fan. He came to last show. He's like, I'm gonna be there tonight, and I was like, you just imagine Michael Ackley. He's got his laptop out. He's got his iPad, his phone. He's got everything.
Love that.
He's got everything. He's just
we would love
liking
that.
everything, leaving chats in there. So be sure to tune in if you're not going to make it down there. But please make it down there. These guys are going to watch some Thursday Night Football.
For sure.
With you guys. Have a beer. I wish I could make it. I don't think I can make it to the next one either. I was looking at the schedule, and it's a very, very busy Thursday in 2 weeks. But that's beside the point. Reds greats. Reds season officially. I keep saying officially ended. They're still going to play for another week, but
Nah.
they
You're good.
No,
out
they
of
officially
postseason
ended.
You said it
contention.
right.
Yeah.
Out of postseason contention. It was a season that had a lot of aspirations going into it, but it felt like the wind got taken out of the sails very, very quickly. Around the same time that you guys went on that trip out west. I don't know.
Almost exactly.
I don't know.
Season.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there was no doubt about it. We knew we were in trouble before the season started. Matt McClain goes down.
You're in the beautiful state of Utah.
TJ Friedel goes down.
Yeah, you're in the beautiful state of Utah when Noelve Marte got pinched for taking steroids. Man, you guys could have been on that. You guys could have been on that reality TV show that Casey's wife and my wife are currently watching. When you're in Utah, you could have Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. You could have been right there. That was around the same time he found out that Noelve Marte got pinched for doing drugs. You could have swung right on into that show if you get what I'm saying. Just swung right on in. Swung.
Nice, Reed.
Swing. All right, let's grade the Reds. So we're going to go through each Cincinnati Red player this year, guys that have played a significant time, and then we're just going to give grades. We're going to be little teachers. We're going to give A, B, C, D, or you get a fail. You get a failing grade, and first one is a guy that I have a lot of. Out of all the Reds, he's probably my favorite. It's probably because the position he plays. And I think he got an unnecessary amount of flack last year. But it is Tyler Stevenson. What is your guys' grade on the season that Tyler Stevenson is currently having or had, if you want to talk about it?
He is one of
tense?
two players I am prepared to give an A.
Okay.
I think the step he took this year is more than anyone could have asked for. And to have a guy that we are once again confident in playing catcher on a consistent basis is something that we didn't think we were going to have coming out of this year. And when we have a year filled with question marks and a lot of guys that we thought weren't going to be question marks, we have a guy we thought was that is no longer. He is about as sure a thing as we have in the Reds organization right now when it comes to looking at this lineup for the future when we want to compete. We think he's going to be the catcher for next year and years beyond. I think the lowest you could go is a high B, and that's when you look straight at the numbers, but taking a look at everything big picture, I think Tyler Stevenson's an A. He's had a better season than anyone could ask for in a year when most people did not.
A minus for me. I agree with you on everything that you just said. I think he helped bolster one of the most impressive starting pitching rotations I've seen in my lifetime, at least for the first, several months of this season. They look good. The starting pitchers look good, and a large part of a pitcher's success is how good the starting catcher is. And our starting catcher had a damn good season. He gets an A minus from me. I mean, numbers-wise, a 261 average, a 341 OBP, a 448 slug, and a 789 OPS. Those are all well above average for a catcher in Major League Baseball. I think Nick Kirby said it on Chatterbox Reds. It's a borderline all-star season for a catcher. If you're just looking at catcher numbers, that's maybe an all-star season for Tyler Stevenson. He stepped up offensively, yes, but the main thing was defensively. I was very concerned that he was unable to play the position after last year. You saw a lot of reps going to Luke Maile. You saw the starting pitchers all favoring Luke Maile. I think that switched this season, so you're able to see the chemistry with our pitching staff improve. All these guys are so young. It was important for me to see that step. And for that, he gets an A minus. The only reason that it's not an A is because there's another player that's going to get an A. And I feel like he just had a better season.
It's interesting because when it comes to Tyler Stevenson, and Greg Sandlin actually just put this in, if we're judging it based off your perception going into the year, I think you have to put Tyler Stevenson in the high A plus, because, morale was low on him. People were kind of out on him because of several things. He had a bad offensive season last year, and then he really didn't look the part defensively, but he is much improved. He's got a 115 on base plus, OPS plus. He's going to hit right around 20 home runs. If you have a catcher that's going to hit 20 home runs, he's going to get on base 35% of the time. He's going to hit 260. That is an all-star. Like, if he plays for the Dodgers, that's an all-star. If he plays for the Braves, that's an all-star. If he plays for the Cubs, that's an all-star catcher because he plays on one of the less popular teams in the National League. He's not going to get the same amount of love. Tyler Stevenson, I think, has far exceeded everyone's expectations. Is he a top-tier catcher in the league? No. But he is certainly someone that is exactly who we thought he was 2 years ago, someone that can be at the center of your franchise going forward, and possibly the most important position on the field. Tyler Stevenson I'll give him an A from my camp. All right, we'll keep on going down. Coming in secondly is Jonathan India. Jonathan India had a weird season, I think. I think he had a weird season to where last year we're talking about, does he have a spot on this team? Then all the injuries, the suspension to Noel Marte, we're like, all right, well, now he's got a very clear role on what he's going to do, and it's the same role that he's had the past few seasons. And at times, he looked like the best player on the team. At times, he looked like one of the best players in the league. He looked like 2021 Rookie of the Year, Jonathan India, but then he goes in these long droughts, these long slumps to where he's just about an average hitter. He's just a slightly above average hitter. Jonathan India, what's the grade you're giving India?
I'm going to give him a C. I think this is a Jonathan India season if there ever was one. He had maybe the best month we've ever seen, and then he's been back to normal. And I think the only way Jonathan India would get an A for me is if I could grade the trade package we got back for him at the deadline. But obviously, he's still a Red, and he probably will be for a long time. I think he's definitely a C player for me. Nothing from this season made me feel more confident in Jonathan India long term, and I don't really feel any less confident in Jonathan India long term. I still don't think he's the long-term second baseman if we're going to be a competitive team. But, yeah, C. Happy average.
I'll give him a B-, and that's strictly because I think he was forced to play more this season than he probably thought he was going to. He's played in 142 games. He's had 44 extra base hits. He's hitting 245 with a 351 OBP, an OPS of 742. Pretty average numbers there. I think that what he does on the field, the versatility, is going to boost the grade for me personally. But not seeing him in the outfield, I think that was a mistake because I don't know where he's going to play next year. I don't think he had such a good season where he's earned a starting spot, especially with Matt McClain hopefully coming back next year. So I'll give him a B- because I thought he was always available to play during a season where we needed a player that was a major league caliber offensive player, and I thought he was at least that. So, yeah, I'll give him a B-, but it's probably closer to a C, with like Jacob said.
I have one thing that I do want to give. Sean Connor just put this in there. Give credit to Jonathan India. I think he does lead the team in on base percentage. That's one area where he has upticked the highest on base percentage of his career, other than his rookie season, a 351 OBP. That's a pretty solid player. I just think that you need him to be. And this is coming from a guy you obviously pay a lot more attention to the Reds than I do. It seems like it's hot or cold. It really does. It seems like you've got one of the hottest hitters on the planet, or he doesn't do anything for a month at a time. Jonathan India, it's the conversations. I've said for a long time, I would love to get a whiteboard in this room and would love to get the whatever Reds fans are ranting about on Twitter for this certain day, date it, and we'll come back to it at the end of the year and we'll talk about it. It's like, remember when Mike Ford was going to save the season back in May? Remember when this was going to happen and this was going to happen? I would like to do the same for just talking about Jonathan India in this room. Like, what is the current conversation we're having about Jonathan India? Because, man, it fluctuates just as much as he does on the field. If you're asking me for the grade on Jonathan India, I think it is a B- to a C+, B- in that for the role that he was thrust into, he did fine.
Yep.
He did fine at that. But I think more than ever, we understand who Jonathan India is as a player, and to where the ceiling isn't as high as we thought it was 4 years ago in 2021. It's just this guy's a solid Major League Baseball player. He'll probably get to full pension. He'll probably get to play 10 years in this league, and he's earned that. But to think anything more to where he's going to raise your expectations of the team to where he's going to thrust your team into true contender status, I just don't think he's that kind of
No,
player.
he's not going to elevate your team at all. But I do think when you see the season that the Reds just had, and you see the lack of players that the Reds had available to them, having guys like Jonathan India and another guy I'm sure you're going to bring up right now, having those two available to us and being healthy all season long, that does matter to me.
Yeah.
That does matter because a lot of guys weren't available to play this season. A lot of guys.
Health. I mean, we say it all the time. The best availability, or the best ability is availability, and that's what Jonathan India came. He came to the ballpark every single day and gave you big league caliber play. Gave you big league caliber play on a team that very much needed it based off injuries and other things. All right, now we're gonna give what I assume is going to be glowing reviews from the 22-year-old superstar, Ellie De La Cruz.
How can I go? Don't they do S on the tier lists? I'll give him an S.
This isn't second grade. Like, don't they stop doing S's in second grade?
No,
Casey Stinkless
there's
has
a TikTok trend where S is the
S
highest
is above
tier. I think
A.
S means super.
I think so. And Ellie's super. So we're gonna go 3 pluses. Do we do 3 pluses? Gold star.
Gold star.
We'll give him a gold star. Ellie's the best you could be. There's nothing more I could ask out of him this year. He's been incredible. If he cuts back even slightly on strikeouts and routine errors, he'll be the best player in the league. Other than Shohei, he's unbelievable. He's incredible in the field. He's an incredible at the plate. His ability to get on base much more consistently this year than he has in years past. He's unbelievable. And at 22 years old, there's nothing more you could ask for. He's absolutely incredible. He's everything the Reds hoped he would be when he was the #1 prospect and they called him up. And he's certainly looking like he's trending in that direction at just age 22. So A+++, gold star, S tier, all the above.
I'm gonna give him an A. I won't go A+. I'll save that for a special occasion. But I'll give him an A. He exceeded everything that I thought he'd be this year. I had doubts coming into the season that he'd be able to replicate what he did last year, and he was literally better at every single thing. He's a 260 average, just about 340 OBP and an 813 OPS. He's stolen 64 bases. I don't think he'll get to 70, but he's going to flirt with 70 stolen bases. He has 67 extra base hits. The defense has been good. Has been very, very, very good. He's one of the best defenders based on every analytic you can find. There's still some silly routine mistakes that he makes, and those are part of the growing up in Major League Baseball type of deals. So I think as many seasons as he continues to play, those will keep dwindling and dwindling and dwindling. Those are my only knocks that he had this year, just some silly, nonsensical plays that he had out in shortstop, just lazy transfers and stuff like that. But the plays that he makes that aren't those go far and beyond those tiny little mistakes. So I was wrong when Nick Kirby said earlier in the year, and Reds Daily and all the other Reds people out there that said, these silly plays, they're more than made up for by the rest of what he can do. And that's 100% correct. He had an MVP borderline season. I think he's going to finish top 5, right? Top 5 in MVP voting. So, yeah, I couldn't have asked for more. I pray that the Castellinis give him a large contract this offseason and he can be a Red for the next 10 years. We'll see. But he couldn't have played better than what he did this year.
Nick Kirby
for
puts
my
in the chat,
expectations.
2.2 F4 projection for Ellie heading into the season. He's currently sitting at 6.1.
Yeah.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, I've said it before that Ellie De La Cruz is a player, if you like baseball, you should fall in love with. If you're an old-time baseball fan, there's things that he does in his game that you don't like, right? It's the routine errors, it's the striking out a lot. But when push comes to shove, this is a guy that, of the 30 Major League Baseball teams, 28 of them, 27 of them are looking for their superstar. They're looking for their guy to take them to new heights. The Reds have that. The Reds not getting this guy signed long-term would be an absolute disaster. Ellie De La Cruz, this is a guy that has the power to hit 40 home runs, that has the speed to steal 100 bases, something that no one's done since Ricky Henderson. So this guy is a bona fide superstar. He gets an A+ from me, and congratulations to Ellie De La Cruz. I just looked up on Baseball Reference. His WAR is currently sitting at 4.8. That is just below Nico Horner and Dansby Swanson last year. So they have a player about as good as Dansby Swanson or Nico Horner. The Cincinnati Reds do.
Let's do this. Let's go to the next segment. I want to grade a couple more players, if that's okay with you, Rita-Roo.
Yep.
So let's go to break. You've been listening to ESPN 1410 Wing AM. We are Chatterbox Sports Off the Bench. We'll be right back with you.
Fun fact here. The Reds play at 1:10 today.
Which we did talk about earlier in the show.
The Reds play at 1:10 today. They get a little matinee. You know what that means? That game is going to be live on 1410 Wing AM. So all the breaks, all the little pomp and circumstance that we've been doing recently, not needed. We're not going to the radio today.
No radio.
I've
been speaking to the radio audience like they're
guys.
there. They're not there.
Good for
They're
you
there in
guys.
spirit.
They are there in
They
spirit.
could still be listening on their car.
On their car or in their radio.
Right.
Golly, I love this company sometimes. I love this company. It's a whirlwind. It feels like you're riding a jetpack sometimes.
It just felt like there was a while where we didn't have a day game. So
It's a long time.
These day games have just been popping up lately.
And
I'm
then
like, what do we do during that?
We had a doubleheader, which we were still on radio.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. They're in
All
our
right,
head.
so now we can. The good thing about the radio, though, I will say this, is it does structure you a little more with the show.
certainly.
100%.
Like,
I love the breaks.
When I sat on the show with you, Elliot, and Tom and Casey last year, like we would do a segment for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right? You just keep on going, and maybe the fans, maybe people like that better. But as for like planning out a show, as for going like we're gonna do this, and this, always 5 segments, never 6, because we just let the 6th happen. That's all good and fun. That's all good and fun. So
Kirby said if only the Reds posted their schedule somewhere.
What do you want me to do?
I want. Here's
I'm
what I
riding by
want.
the
Here's
seat.
what I
Listen,
want.
listen.
Here's what I want. Can I tell you what I want?
I would love to hear what you want.
I want to be a part of a roast where it's just me sitting down in a chair. Not even a good chair. I want a lawn chair. And I want Nick and Craig to be the only 2 roasters. And they just pick apart every little thing I say. That's it. It's not even funny stuff. I just want them to go back and everything that I've said and say, you said this, here's why you're wrong.
Let's look in the mirror here. I mean, like we should realize that we're not on radio today.
Probably.
100%.
Probably
It is
should.
objectively. But here's the thing: is like, I know I make a lot to do about like always being busy and everything like that. In fact, I've recently hated the way that I've been talking to my family, because they'll be like, "Hey, Reed, you want to go out to dinner?" And I can't. I got to work. Or hey, I got to do this. I got to be busy. And even when days that I'm off, I don't want to go out to dinner with them, because it's like, this is my day off. Can I relax and stuff like that? So my brain's constantly going crazy. Like, I'm going to finish this show and I'm going to immediately drive to Oxford to go set up something. And then tomorrow I'm going to set up a show, even though I've got the rehearsal dinner tonight and the wedding tomorrow. So all this stuff, it just feels like I'm just flying in a jetpack, as I've said before. But man, we should have probably realized that we weren't on radio today. So that's on us. That's on us. Good thing for you guys though, because we won't go to break anymore. We won't go to break. All right, let's finish out grading Reds, and we've got a lot more to do. So maybe we can do a little quicker. We've done Ellie, we've done Jonathan, we've done Tyler. Those are all big names that I think we've got big grades for. So unless we've got to stick with someone for a while, maybe we can rush through these a little quicker. We'll go with Santiago Espinal. What's your grade on the pickup right before the season?
I'll let you go first.
In 2nd grade, you got a P or an F,
Yeah.
right? Pass or fail. They didn't do grades.
We did S's.
Okay, you did S's. We did P or F. You either passed or you failed. He gets a P.
He does. Yeah, he
He
passed.
passed. He doesn't get a letter grade from me. I hope he's back next season. He's a fine utility player. But let's be very clear. If Santiago Espinal is your starting infielder, can you really have high hopes to make the postseason? I don't. I think he overperformed my expectations. There was a point during the season where I thought he was going to be gone. He was hitting so bad. I legit think he was hitting like 181 in like May. I could be May or June, somewhere like middle of the season.
You wanted to send him to Mars.
Mars.
That's with most of the players. But yeah, so he's improved. RBIs, he's had 45 RBIs this season in 110 games. It's pretty damn good. I'm not going to complain about anything he did this year. Thank you, Santiago Espinal. Espinal star.
What did I give India? A C?
C.
C plus, Espinal.
Oh, all right.
He's better.
So that wasn't even an honest grade for Espinal.
He's been better this year than India.
Yeah, but that wasn't an honest grade. You just wanted to insult India.
Well, yeah, it's always fun.
Okay.
I give him a C. Yeah, I mean, it's
can't wait
you know what, for bench,
I can't wait
bench B minus. He's fine. Like if he comes off, you don't want a guy like Santiago Espinal playing 130 games, 120 games. You don't want that at all.
I can't wait for the big free
But for a
agent.
guy to come in and can play
wait
multiple
to grade
positions,
him.
play pretty good defense. And if you hit 250 off the bench, I know batting average isn't very good. He only gets on base about 30% of the time. But I don't know what else you can ask for a guy that you got literally a week before the season started. I don't know what else you can ask for a guy that wasn't a big picture piece of this.
Yeah.
This
He was better
team.
than Tony Kemp would have been.
Tony Kemp almost stole LA's roster spot. In
That's
spring
right.
Training.
People forget about that
Yeah,
article.
thank God 6.4 WAR Ellie made the first roster.
Thank God.
Dodged that bullet.
He had some things to learn.
He
from
did.
Tony
For
Kemp.
sure. Glad Tony Kemp taught him.
All right, now we get a fun one. A fun one that I think we're going to have some dissenting opinions on. We'll do Spency. What's your guys' grade on Spencer Steer?
If you asked me before the show to grade Spencer Steer, I would have probably given him a top 3 to 4 grade on the team. Now Kirby is getting in my head in the chat to give him a lower grade. So
Well, don't have your opinion.
I'll give him a B-. I still think it was a better season
You were gonna give him an A.
than India. I was definitely going to give him an A, but better season than a lot of the guys. Most of the guys on the team. He was incredibly available. He played anywhere you asked him to. Terrible defender and a pretty decent season at the plate, I think. But yeah, not what we wanted to see from Steer. We wanted to see him take a step, and he didn't really do that. But yeah, I still am impressed by a guy with the 2020 season and an ability to play every single position when you need it at a somewhat serviceable level. He's fine at basically everywhere.
I don't think he's noticeably bad anywhere.
Okay.
I don't think so. But
in a season like this, the availability is the number one thing for me.
100%. And this is where I think analytics. I listen. It's known that I don't love the advanced analytics sometimes, but I do. I mean, I do look at the numbers. I see what Kirby's saying to me. I do think there's this thing in sports where if you use your eye test and you like what you see out of a guy, I think every once in a while it's okay to use that over the analytics. Spencer Steer has played back-to-back seasons of 150-plus game baseball. He's available to play anywhere. I know you want to say he's a bad defender, but we have to throw him in left field because he's good enough offensively to start every day. He's not good enough to take shortstop, third base. He can play there, and he has played there, and he will continue to play there sporadically, depending on what Noelvi Marte does. But yeah, I'm going to give him a high grade because I think what he does, what he's available to do during the course of a season is more than just analytics. He hits 300 plus with runners in scoring position. He's got a 325 OBP, which isn't great. A 740 OPS, not great. 230 average, not great. But he is upper in the league in RBIs. He has 91 RBIs this year. Maybe he gets to 100 by the end of the year. It would have to be a hell of an end. But you have a 2020 season, which I didn't think he would do, 25 stolen bases and 20 home runs. I think he's a serviceable player, and I don't want to start like the he's Jonathan India. He's get him out of here. We don't need him. We can trade him for value. I think he's a valuable piece here. I'm not saying the Reds are going to extend him or sign him or whatever you want to say, but I do think he's important to the Reds. I think he's important to the Reds, and again, same way Jonathan India was this past season because of what happened with all the injuries. So I'm going to give him a B-, and I'm going to be happy with that decision.
I would rather have Steer over India on the team because of the versatility.
Yeah.
I think they're very similar players in basically every aspect, but I would rather have Steer because of the versatility. And if India can show versatility over the offseason, that he can play different positions, then maybe he can slot into that role, which would make him more valuable.
He never had a stretch this year, I don't think, that was like last year there was a stretch where Spencer Steer was just on fire. This year there was a couple games here and there. There was a couple back-to-back series where he got hot, but there was never really a long stretch where Spencer Steer caught fire. And maybe we won't see that. And I think Reed has the point. Maybe he'll elaborate here. But this is probably what you get from Spencer Steer. The numbers, this season's numbers, don't really improve that much. And I agree with that. He's probably like a 20 home run guy, 25 home run guy max. I don't think he'll be a 30 home run guy. I don't think he'll steal 30 bases in a year, even though 25 stolen bases isn't bad. He's not going to hit 300. He's not going to have a high OPS. But he's always there. He's ready to play. B- from me.
It's I think I got laughed at last year by Elliot and Tom doing the show when we talked about Spencer Steer. And
I did.
I specifically said we were talking about sophomore slumps and everything like that. And I said, don't expect a better season from Spencer Steer. I thought what you saw last year was the peak of Spencer. I truly, truly believe that. Like he might have slightly better numbers, but to expect this guy to be a perennial 30 home run guy, perennial 100 RBI guy, to where he's hitting 270, getting on base 36% of the time, all those things, I think that was incredibly wishful thinking. And this is where I say about Spencer Steer, where if he played 20 years ago, he'd be much more valued in terms of front offices and stuff like that than he is now. Because now what we see now is a player, though he does play a lot of different positions, he doesn't play any of them exceptionally well or even moderately well. He gets on base 32% of the times. That's not going to cut it from a middle of the bat order. And on top of that, he only slugs .420 in the most hitter-friendly ballpark in the league. Spencer Steer is, without a doubt, a major league hitter. He's going to get near 100 RBIs. He's going to hit 22 home runs right there. But it's a workaround of where baseball value comes from. You're seeing more and more teams favor defensive ability to get on base. But when it comes to Spencer Steer, he's once again, I said about Jonathan India, he's going to be in the major leagues for a decade. He's going to get full pension. Like, other teams will take a stab. And you know what Spencer Steer is? He's going to be a team that you see. He's going to be a player that you see on the Boston Red Sox in 4 or 5 years. And he's going to hit 30 home runs, 25 home runs for the Boston Red Sox, and he's going to be like their 6-hole hitter. And you'll be like, man, like, he's going to be like Adam Duvall. Remember Adam Duvall?
Yeah.
Like, he's going to bounce around these really good teams because he is a somewhat valuable bat. But if he's the center cog of your lineup, that doesn't work. If he's the piece that you expect to get to 35 home runs, that's not going to work. He's a big league player. But let's leave him at that. Don't expect anything more from Spencer Steer. I'm glad that here in year 2 people are starting to come back, because I even saw someone tweet last week. I think everyone expected Spencer Steer to take a major step forward this year. So I don't know why you would think that.
Yeah.
I don't know why you would assume that. 270, 356, 23 home runs like he hit last year, an 820 on OPS. If he did that every year, that's exceptional. But to expect him to do better than that, I thought what we saw last year was the peak of Spencer Steer. I think what we've seen this year is exactly what you expect from Spencer Steer.
I don't think it's a sophomore slump, though.
I don't either. I think this is Spencer Steer.
Right.
Yeah, I just want to make that clear.
I think this is
A
Spencer
slump
Steer.
would imply that he gets higher at some point. Yeah.
I think this is the player that he is.
Yeah.
I think he'll have years where he's slightly better, closer to what he had last year, and I think there's going to be years where he's worse.
But the range isn't even that big, I don't think.
No, that
like
is
his
what's good
floor
about-
is pretty high.
Yeah,
his ceiling
that's a
isn't
good point.
massive.
That's a
either.
good point. You don't have to. You're not going to expect Spencer Steer to come in and bat 205 and not have the power
Right.
numbers. He's gonna hit around 20 home, especially a Great American Ballpark. But even if you get him in a different ballpark for 81 games, does he have the same power numbers? That's what I want to know. I know you can check that out on Baseball Savant, but I would be intrigued to see if he played at even not in a bigger field, but like where the Cubs play, Wrigley Field, where it's 355 down the lines. How many home runs is he losing then?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do see a lot of people saying 90% of this team can't stay on the field. He does, so just for that alone, he's better than most of the guys on this team.
I agree with that.
I do too, but spoiler alert, we're one of the worst teams in baseball. If you're better than 90% of our roster, that doesn't mean you're good.
That's fair.
Not that Spencer Steer's not good. I think he's a fine player. I'm just saying, to grade him against the current Reds roster, not a good way to look at it.
And for what it's worth, like he did show up every day. He plays every day, and he's a middle of the bat order every single day. But if you look at OPS plus, he's
going to play 158 games.
If you look at OPS plus, he's 2% better than the average hitter in Major League Baseball. 2%, 102 OPS plus.
Give me the free agent to grade.
All right, now we're going to go guy that's been in and out of the lineup all season long, and maybe we can go a little quicker with this guy, but TJ Friedl. Great on TJ Friedl.
I give TJ Friedl a B-. I feel like I wanted him to be better. The availability certainly wasn't great, but when he was in there, he proved that he's a good player, and then he means a lot to this team. And I think that's 2 good takeaways. I'm pretty confident in him being part of this core. Would love him to stay healthier, but, you know, with what we saw from everyone else on this team, he still played a lot, considering when you talk about all the other guys that have missed a lot of time. And he played at a high level when he was out there. So I'll give TJ Friedl a B-, C+, maybe, somewhere in that range. I feel like he had a good year.
I'm going to give him a C+. It's kind of an asterisk season because he didn't play the whole year. I think he might have flirted with 30 home runs this season had he played an entire season. Kirby, again, Chatterbox Reds, they discussed the power that TJ Friedl had this year, and he brought it back.
Balls go burr.
He retained his power, and he also, again, I was at the game last night, he has that ability to lay down a perfect bunt and do the job. In fact, he's really the only guy on the team that should be bunting, and because that's how good he is. I'm going to give him a C+. I mean, his numbers aren't good. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that they're great. A 231 average, 305 OBP, 704 OPS, 399 slugging percentage. Again, 13 home runs. He does only have 5 doubles and a triple. He does have 54 RBIs, which is pretty damn good in 77 games. So, yeah, I think, could he get better? Absolutely. I'm not going to write off TJ Friedl. He gets a C+ from me. I think he did a fine job when he was available to play. He just wasn't available at the beginning of the year, and that's unfortunate because I think that kind of threw a wrench in his season.
Yeah, I think TJ Friedel is going to be a pretty important piece of this team going forward. I think, he just got hurt. I give him a B-. I mean, it's a C+. Yeah, Jake Fraley, a lot of power loss.
Yes.
I'll start this off. C-.
I'll respect the guy and give him a C-. I like to think that it's all injury related. He was on and off the injury report mostly all year, and it made his power non-existent. I'm gonna give him a D. Yeah, it was terrible. It was terrible.
I'm not going to give him a D. I'm going to give him a C+. I'm going to give him a C+. 278 average, 330 OBP, 720 OPS. He's probably had the definition of average of a season. When you factor in the defense, when you factor in the lack of power, I mean, he had 5 home runs. 5 home runs, 24 extra base hits in 108 games. He wasn't available to play this season. And at the end of the day, I'm not going to fault him, by the way, for all of the reasons he wasn't available to play this season. I'll make that very clear. He had some very good excuses to miss games at some point during this season. But nonetheless, when you go on the IL several times, I think 5 times was the number, it's just hard to give you an honest grade here. I'm going to give a C+. I think he can still come back next year and be the player that he was last year. I'm not going to write off him. I just think it wasn't a Jake Fraley caliber year.
You want to know? So I'm doing the next one's going to be Will Benson, and I think everyone's going to give him an incredibly low grade. But you want to just know how bad Jake Fraley's power numbers were. So Jake Fraley, who batted 280 and 354 plate appearances, 324 at bats. Will Benson had 328 at bats. Will Benson had more total bases this year.
Wow.
Than Jake Fraley, batting 192.
That's crazy.
Almost 90 points below. But yeah, Will Benson had 14 home runs. He had 63 hits, and over half of them were extra base hits. But that just shows you how low Jake Fraley's slug was this year, to where Will Benson, in almost the exact same amount of at bats, had 2 more total bases than Jake Fraley, who batted 280. But
that's insane.
Will Benson, great.
Will Benson's a happy F for me, and there's not much more to say.
I like Will Benson. I believed in Will Benson. I thought he could.
Stupid, I voted against him.
I thought he could be a starting outfielder for the Reds. He proved he couldn't, and that's unfortunate. He has 150 strikeouts and 325 at bats.
There's not a whole lot else going for him like Ellie has going for him.
There's not.
Ignore the strikeouts.
He can't really play defense. He's a fine defender, I guess. Not really though. He's hitting 192. He's got a 280 on base percentage, a 670 OPS. I just don't have too many kind things to say about Will Benson this season, other than he's a nice guy. He gets an F for his play.
Better guy or baseball player?
Probably a better guy.
Probably a better guy.
Probably a better guy.
Yeah.
Again, I like Will Benson. I think he's one of the more fun guys we have on this Reds roster. It's just next season, if you're hoping to make the postseason, the Jake Fraley, Will Benson game, you can't play it. Will Benson's got to go, and I'm very, very sorry to say that. And Jake Fraley probably might have to as well. And I love them both, but
I don't know that either should be everyday players.
We need a starting outfielder is what it comes down to.
If I'm going to give myself credit for saying Tyler Stevenson, everyone was too low on Tyler Stevenson this past year, so I love to see where Tyler Stevenson went. If I'm going to give myself credit for being right on Spencer Steer this season, if I'm going to give myself credit for saying that the hate that Ellie De La Cruz got earlier in the year was weird and was wrong, I'm gonna detract heavily and say that I was dead wrong when it came to Will Benson. I thought a guy that had every time that I watched the Reds last year, I thought Will Benson had incredible at-bats. I thought that he waited for his pitch. I thought that when he got his pitch, he did something well with it. Obviously, he had the terrible April. But when he turned it around, and I remember tuning into Chatterbox Reds on a random August day last year, and I think Trace said, do we have the best 9-hole in the league in Will Benson? And every time I watched him, it was truly, I truly liked the way his approach at the plate. Then this year, you're seeing him getting those pitches, and the problem with being a patient hitter is if you can't hit, they're just going to challenge you. And when you're missing fastballs, middle, you're not much of a threat. So I was wrong about Will Benson. He gets a pretty clear F. Billy Baseball wasn't very good this year. We are very late on ad reads, but we've got a few more guys to get through because I'm having fun doing this, just giving guys grades, and I think the chat's enjoying this. A lot of discussion.
Still haven't had the one I want.
Noelve Marte.
No, not him.
We're going to get to the pitcher soon.
No, that's not. You haven't said the big
The
free
guy
agent.
we both want, you haven't said
Jamer.
yet. Yeah.
We'll get to him in a second. But do you want Noelve?
Yeah.
I mean, 0. What's worse than an F?
No,
A, B, C,
come
D, E,
on.
F, G, H, I, J, K, L, L. He gets an L this season. He did steroids. He did the wrong thing. The Reds
got there.
You didn't know how it got there, sure. The Reds lost an infielder right before the season for a stupid reason. It was a selfish mistake. He's come back, and he's been one of the worst qualified baseball players we've had. He's been playing better. He's young. He can improve. But for the play that he's been this season, he has been very, 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 very bad at baseball. Atrocious. The defense hasn't been there, and that was the one thing he had going for him. Offensively, nothing. Not a single thing. He's been playing a little bit better as of late, I guess, if you want to give him a little bit of a pass on that. But he's hitting 210 with a 249 OBP, a 561 OPS. He has 15 extra base hits in 60 games. I'm out on Noelve Marte having a secure set spot for next season. Hopefully he comes into spring training and he proves me wrong. But this year was tough. Doing steroids and then coming back and being the worst player I've ever seen, it's tough to do.
I don't think there's anything about this Red season that made me more upset and disappointed than the Noelve Marte return. Because the whole time that we were struggling when he was suspended, it was, okay, we're going to get Noelve back and we're going to be a lot better. It's going to at least bring the floor of this lineup up. I don't know that anyone necessarily was still set on the playoffs or winning the division or anything like that at that point, but we thought he was going to be a great infusion into the lineup and made us a lot better. And it just wasn't that. He's been terrible. There's no way around it. I still have a lot of faith in him being a really good player. He was a highly touted prospect the entire time he was coming up. He's going to be a good player. I still believe it, but you can't give him anything other than an F for this year.
Do you think he starts next season on opening day?
I hope so, because I hope he can put together a spring training and an offseason that lets them believe that he can. But if he starts on opening day next year because of his name and not because he blew people away in the offseason, then it's the wrong decision.
I agree.
Yeah, no, I remember we did 10 most exciting players going into this season. I think, Elliot, you had Noelve Marte at number 1, and it was released before.
I did.
It was released before the news about the steroids, right before that ill-fated West Coast trip. But yeah, Noelve Marte just I mean, all the concerns that he had coming when he was ramping up to play.
Yeah.
Obviously, he had the good debut this season, and then it's
helped for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, it did, no doubt about it. But man, oh man, did things go awry. Final position player I've got is Jeimer Candelario, former Cubby, former Tigre.
Yeah, the big free agent acquisition. He hasn't been healthy. 112 games. I don't know
that OBP?
I don't know if he's coming back. That OBP, ooh, it's below 280. 279, that on-base percentage.
Below Will Benson.
Below Will Benson.
Surely he's a good fielder.
No, really bad at fielding. That was the reason they signed him.
Hits for big power?
Well, 20 home runs. I guess that's okay. He's second on the team in home runs for a team that doesn't hit any home runs.
Right.
I'm going to give
him in slugging percentage.
I'm going to give him a D-.
Higher slugging percentage than Spencer Steer.
Yeah, I mean, that's not saying much. That's a D- for Jeimer Candelario. It's been a failed contract. I'm praying it turns around because I really don't want them to miss on every single bat they sign out of free agency. It seems like that's the direction they go. Outside of Nick Castellanos, I can't think of one. So Jeimer Candelario, it was a fun experiment. It failed, and we're moving on to next year. I don't know where he's going to play. Yeah. He's not good enough defensively to play anywhere, so he has to DH. And if I'm going to be honest, he's not good enough offensively to DH. So I don't know. This is incredibly frustrating.
And he has old man injuries now. His joints hurt.
His joints
hurt. He can't swing. Yeah, it's terrible. He's been terrible. It's a terrible signing, and it seems like it's a classic Reds signing again. Like you just said, we haven't hit on many, if any, other than Castellanos, and obviously he left too. So we can't get a free agent in here to make a difference. It seems like hopefully that changes this offseason. Maybe it's Candy. Maybe he gets healthy.
Maybe he gets hot.
Turns it around.
Maybe
and
he gets hot.
We're doing this next September, and he gets an A.
Maybe he gets hot.
Yeah, it's an F. It's terrible. He was terrible.
3 big signings coming in this year: Frankie Montas, Nick Martinez, Jeimer Candelario.
1 for 3.
Jacob Junis looks good.
Well, that was a trade, but Jacob Junicelski.
One for 3. Jamir Candelario, fun fact. Nick
I-
Castellanos was thrown out a lot on this guy. Nick Castellanos and Jamir Candelario have about the same WAR this season.
Wow.
Frankie Montas. I'm not going to sit here and bash Frankie Montas. He
They
did
did hit on Nick Martinez, Nick.
Frankie Montas did his job.
Yeah.
That's what I expected him to do. I didn't expect him to have some sub-3 ERA, Cy Young caliber season. I think some thought that. I did not think that. This is what I thought he would do.
He was going to get us 20 wins, though.
He was going to get us 20 wins. He's a 20-win pitcher for the Reds, and I think he wants to retire here.
He does.
So maybe
That's cool.
maybe he can replace the usher that
One-day
kicked me
contract?
out. Yeah, one-day
Frankie
contract.
Montas?
Yeah, it's. I mean, D- for Candelario.
He needed to be better. He just needed to be better. In everything.
And at every single
Every
aspect of the game.
Yeah.
Well, he wasn't. I got 4 pitchers.
No, he definitely was not.
4 pitchers. We'll run through them really quickly. Hunter Green.
A
Plus.
minus.
A plus for me.
A minus just because of the injury.
A minus. Okay, that's fair.
If he would have got through the season healthy, played pitching at that level, it's a higher grade than Ellie.
I'm gonna give Hunter Green. I'm Hunter Green an A plus. I think there was a lot more doubters on Hunter Green than Ellie De La Cruz. I think he had a Cy Young caliber season. It seemed like every single time Hunter Green went out there, he dominated. Outside of a wet Chicago night, that's the only one that really comes to mind. He had some issues with the puke on the mound. I don't care about that. He was an all-star. He deserved it. He had a hell of a season, and I think he proved a lot of people wrong. He proved a lot of people wrong this year. He's going to be the ace moving forward. He will be starting on opening day. Maybe that gave him some fire this year. I'm very proud of Hunter Green. I'm very proud that he's a Cincinnati Red, and I'm very proud that organization got that deal done.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. I love Hunter Green. He showed us exactly what we wanted to see this year. He's the ace of this team, and he will be for a long time. It's an A minus just because of the injury. A double plus if he pitches out. If he comes back and he pitches on Sunday like he's technically supposed to, and he pitches well to end the year, then it'll go back up to an A plus. But
if you give me 25 starts, I'm not going to complain about 25 starts.
Yeah,
like,
it's just the worry, the injury thing
I 100%.
coming back up.
I'm sure he's going to say another name that we're going to have that same issue with, but.
I don't think anyone gets more flack. I don't think going into this season anyone got more flack than 3 players from the Cincinnati Reds. Maybe India was up there, but like Hunter Green and Ellie De La Cruz got I think by far, and this is from a periphery view. Like I'm not entrenched in it as much as you guys are. I'm not as entrenched in it as much as you guys are. I don't think anybody got more flack than Hunter Green. Oh, Hunter pitches through 4 innings. Oh, here's Ellie De La Cruz striking out again, making it. And by far, they're the best 2 players. By far, they are centerpieces of the team going forward. These guys are people that you rightfully should be excited about in Cincinnati. The reason that there is still hope going forward for the Cincinnati Reds is because you've got a bona fide superstar in Ellie De La Cruz, because you've got a bona fide ace in Hunter Green. Those are cornerstones. Those are the pillars, the foundation on which a team, contender can be built. Hunter Green gets an A+. By the way, you said you're going to give Frankie Montas a pass. What do you think his ERA was for the Reds?
4.5.
5.01.
Was it really 5.01 for the Reds?
5.01 this year.
Give him a pass.
Give him a pass.
I feel like he had a decent amount of nice starts though.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a couple in there that I was like, because when Mike Minor was a Red, there was no starts that were nice.
Yeah, but he 8 innings.
You're right. He
better
did.
Than anyone.
You're right.
Frankie Montas did have starts where he went out there and you lost the game.
Yeah.
You know, he was fine a lot of times, but there was I can remember 3 or 4 different times where first inning the game's over.
Yeah.
Right. He gives up 6-7 runs. I think the Mariners back in April, all the way back in April was a game that I sat and watched with my dad. Andrew Abbott, grade?
I'll let you lead.
B minus. B. Solid straight B. Flat B. It was the same thing as last year. He was great and then he fell off a cliff at the end. You wish you could have seen something different, but I'm still incredibly encouraged with Andrew Abbott as the 3rd or 4th guy in this rotation. I think he's a good pitcher, and I'm happy to have him here. I'm going to give him a B.
Advanced analytics don't like Andrew Abbott. I don't really care about those advanced analytics because it seemed like he was serviceable for the most part. I can't give him an A. I can't give him a B. I'm going to give him a C because it's, as Jacob just said, if you're not going to be able to pitch an entire season, we're going to have problems. So he had 25 starts this year. As Reed told me, that's one more than Hunter Green had.
Yep, one more start and has thrown the same amount of innings as Hunter Green.
Which shocked me. But Andrew Abbott appears in back-to-back seasons has had the same exact thing happen where he just falls off. And I'm hoping that's not going to be a recurring theme, but it might be. So for that, I'm going to give him a C. I think he's a very serviceable, solid pitcher number 4 in a rotation.
That's a good point.
But if you're not going to, if you just, I mean, if you can't finish seasons, I don't know what to give you.
He gives you a shot. And if he's the back end of your rotation, you feel pretty confident.
Yeah.
About that. You feel pretty confident about that. Another southpaw, Nick Lodolo.
I mean, I don't want to give him an F, so I'll give him a D-. Every single fear we had this year came true, and he looked phenomenal when he was in, and we all got excited. We were debating who the ace was.
Yep.
And then he's been on IR and off IR and on IR and off IR and now back on IR for the rest of the season. And a blister derailed the starts he did have when he came back. I know they said he was healthy, but he certainly didn't look like Nick Lodolo on the mound after that first IL stint, and it got pretty ugly there at the end before he ended his season. So it's going to be a D for me. Everything I wanted to see out of Nick Lodolo this year, you showed me the exact opposite.
I don't know how to grade some of these guys because they're not there. Nick Lodolo, when he's healthy and available, he's an A+. But you get what? How many starts? You get 10 starts of that?
Yeah.
9 starts of that before it's terrible. So I don't know what to give him. I give him an A for when he's really good, and I give him an F for the rest of the time. He doesn't play. He's not available to play. He's thrown in 21 games, 21 starts this year. Out of those 21, how many were bad? I don't know. Like 7 were probably not great. Or 7 were towards the end there when it was clear something was very, very wrong. I'm gonna give him a C-, D+. I just don't know how to grade a guy that's not available to play. Nick Lodolo, when healthy, could be a 2 in a rotation. Could be an ace if he's healthy. Hasn't been healthy, and I have fears that he's not going to be healthy.
Similar to, I've always thought that the Nick Lodolo does look really good when he is out there and healthy, but I've always had the opinion that Hunter Green is by far the guy that should that's going to be your ace, and that appeared to be true this year.
Hunter Green has a 2.83 ERA with 162 strikeouts and a 1.0 WHIP.
Yep.
I mean, hitters are hitting what, 185 on him? I mean, that's insane.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
But he throws 100 pitches in the 4th inning.
Yeah, he shut that down real quick this year.
Closer.
He shut that down really quick.
Yeah, it's almost like when people tell you that the future of this team is going to be Hunter Green, like when the people that think about this for their job, that do this for their job, tell you that Ellie De La Cruz is going to be the centerpiece of this team going forward, and that Hunter Green is going to be the centerpiece of this team, this rotation going forward, that they might know what they're talking about. That being said, those same guys are the guys that signed Jamer Candelario. So, Alexis Diaz, final pitcher on the thing. What's your grade for the closer that should have lost his job to
Fernando Cruz
back in June?
He's the funniest player on the Reds by far, because if you aren't a Reds fan or you just look at his numbers,
you just look at the stats. Yeah.
He's unbelievable. And what matters for players, it's the output, not what happens until that output. And he saves games. So I'm gonna give him an A. But if you ask any Reds fan, you don't feel very confident when Alexis Diaz is running out of the bullpen. And I don't really know why at this point, because he does save games way more often than he doesn't. I'm going to give him an A just because what more do you want out of him to get an A if it's not this season where he has one of the lowest blows tape rates in the entire league?
I'm going to give him a B-. I think he's a fine closer. I do think there are a lot of instances where runners get on base, and I think that's where the area of concern is. I understand that he closes the door, so how can you judge somebody for something they didn't let happen? But I do think that there's very few, like 1, 2, 3 innings with Alexis. I'm going to give him a B-. I think he was serviceable. I think he had 28 saves, you said, which is a top half of the closers in the National League.
Still plenty of time to get to that 30.
He had an effective season. He has a 4.14 ERA. I don't know. I just think there is something about him where he walks a lot of guys. And I hope they improve, but I hope those numbers improve. But fine season out of Alexis Diaz. I really don't think I would have expected much more than this.
I don't know how you could.
He's a 4.14 ERA. Maybe I'd like to see that at the low 3s, but can't really say anything too bad about him. The rest of the bullpen, by the way, for the most part, if I had
You're
to
going to give grade for the rest.
I'll give the grade for the bullpen as a whole, which I thought up until Nick Krall was forcing them all to start baseball games, they were pretty serviceable this year. I thought it was a B as a bullpen this year. Outside of Fernando Cruz had a really good start, and then 5 ERA right now. Carson Spears is a 5.4 ERA, and again, a lot of these numbers are inflated because of what they've had to do over the last couple months, month and a half. But I was impressed with Nick Martinez. They signed him. I'd give
third most innings on the team.
If I had to give a grade to Nick Martinez, it would be an A. But yeah, the bullpen was fine this year.
Gotta bring him back.
Buck Farmer, I give him an A++. Because every time I see Buck Farmer, I don't believe he's a good pitcher, but he has a low 3 ERA every
I think
single
he's like
time.
the best Reds reliever ever.
I think he might be.
Buck Farmer is funny because when I do watch games with my dad's a diehard Reds fan. When I do watch games with my dad and Buck Farmer comes, he's this game's over. And I love the reactions people give to watching your favorite team, because I do the same thing. When I see a certain Cub reliever go in there, you're just like, this again.
3 years in Cincinnati, 3.83, 4.2, 3.14 ERA for Buck Farmer.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Casey, we've waited long enough. Sorry, guys, for 30 minutes behind. That was a long segment, but we had to get through it.
What do you give the Reds season grade? What's the Reds season grade?
F. The worst it could be.
I'm going to give it an F as well.
So you're saying, is it the student's fault or is it the teacher?
Oh, yeah, we didn't grade David Bell.
Casey, let's go to ads.
Yeah, Pawnee Water. Start right there, like I always do. Made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. Uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. The Future Bengals Report is proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and
Productivity.
That's right, Jimbos. Visit encore.tech where your path to innovation begins here. Game Time, the ticketing sponsor app that we so love. They have great features. They have things like game time pick filters that help fluff out some of the deals that they've got going on, and you can see exactly what you want. Seats are they show a picture panoramic view of exactly where you're going to sit at. They've got pricing up front. It's great features like that. I personally have used it all summer long to watch Reds games. I didn't certainly go to 20 Reds games like Elliot did, but I certainly went to a lot of them. And they've got great deals for Bengals season tickets, so check those out as well. All right, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
Game time.
Game time.
What time is it, fellas?
Game time.
What time is it, fellas?
Game time. Game time.
That's right.
That's right.
He was
Game
squatted.
time.
He was squatted beneath the desk for a good 5 minutes. Good 5 minutes.
I was going to try to drag it out as long as I could, but oh well. Other housekeeping items. We will be going to Champions Grill with an E on Work Road with an E. So come check us out. We start at 7.
Yep. 7 o'clock. Be there. It'll be myself, Casey, and Jacob talking all things Bengals in front of a live crowd. So please, please, please come see us if you're available and willing.
Every 2 devices that you stream it on at Champions, I will buy you a beer. So
How about
if you bring
that?
4 devices, that's 2 beers.
If you show up, I'll give you Reds tickets.
Ooh.
I don't have any Reds tickets, and honestly, you wouldn't want to go anyway.
If you
so
show up, I
that's a
will.
bit-
I will.
I'll tell you what.
Your hand.
I'll tell you what. I might give somebody $5.
I'm gonna shake that.
I won't give Fetters $5. Fetters just has to show up and he has to know he's loved. But everybody else, for anybody else in the chat that wants to come and see us, I'll give you $5 whole.
Well, we'd appreciate that. So yeah, come check us out. Champions Grill on Work Road. It's Western Hills area. It's a nice little bar. I really like it there. They got the best wings apparently.
Best wings on the west side.
Yeah.
Best wings on the west side. I actually really enjoyed their wings.
I get the champion chicken sandwich. That's what I would recommend to all people.
I saw that pretzel and it looked awesome.
The pretzel looks great. Everett likes the pretzel. Everett's going to come down and see us eventually. I don't know when, but I want Everett to be there to see the pretzel.
So I ordered the wings. It said on the menu, it said best wings on the west side. I asked people around the things, and like I got varying reviews, but man, I got those wings. They were great. They were great wings. Champions. Can't wait to go back in like a month.
Other housekeeping items. We will be doing Dialed In live right after this.
Oh!
Whoa.
I think that's going to be the new time frame for the Friday show. It's going to be on a Thursday now.
So get dialed in the afternoon.
Get dialed in the afternoon. Preview the Thursday night game, the weekend for football, including college and NFL. So stick around. I'll be shifting you guys over to that show afterwards, so stick around and enjoy Tom and Luke and I as we do Dialed In. So
full day of C-Box today.
Yeah, full day.
Chatterbox Reds, Chatterbox Bengals. We're doing it all.
That's right.
We're doing it all here. I wonder what. Man, 162 games of that show would be a lot, wouldn't it? I mean, I just giving credit to Kirby, Trace, Craig, everyone that's on that show this season. I know the postseason's officially done, although it was done a long time ago. But just give credit to them because
I don't think
they do a great job. They do a great job.
I know people say that it's that's probably it's an easy job. I don't think you understand how the mental toll it takes on a person. 162 games, 162 nights, weekends, Friday nights, Saturday nights, Sunday nights. Every night of the week that's occupied by Reds baseball. The Reds, a team who's had 6 winning seasons since the opening of Great American Ballpark. So, yeah, please thank Nick Kirby and Trace and Craig and Shay and Jimmy and Jacob and Reed, everybody who else that came
on there. Yeah.
That came on the show this year. Because no joke, Reds Daily I think was on it. No joke, it's a lot of work. So thank you to Nick Kirby. Thank you to everybody who does Chatterbox Reds. That's why we're here. So
Kirby did like 100. He's gonna do like 155 games according to. It really is. He's done a lot. He's probably only missed a handful, maybe a week full of games. It isn't like. So I'm obviously a Cubs fan. The podcast I listen to for Cubs, I'm not gonna name it here, but like they play out west. You don't get a podcast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They play at 10 p.m. Eastern out west. Guess what? No podcast. No reaction to the game the next day. No reactions on the weekends, holidays, anytime that there's something, a slight inconvenience for them. They're like, no podcast today. Regardless, I mean, they can be playing the Brewers or the Cardinals or the Reds or a rivalry, an important game. They're just like, they're playing at 10 p. I think they almost swept the Dodgers, and I was like, where's my podcast?
Yeah,
just didn't do them because they played at 10 p.
And it's cool to see in there when like the Reds win a big game early on, and there's 400 to 500 people watching that live. People just want somewhere to go and watch it. So to have Chatterbox Reds be the only outlet that does that after each game, very very cool. So very cool to be a part of that. Thank you to those guys.
Show would not have survived without Craig. Yeah, thanks, Craig. Craig is. Thank you so much for helping out Chatterbox Bengals and doing Chatterbox Reds and all that stuff. Thank you for everyone that makes content here at Chatterbox possible. And Kenner, you too, Kenner. Hope you're watching. Appreciate you. All right, let's do another show. Let's do another segment here. It's a new one.
Same show.
Still off the bench. Not on the radio. We did the first few segments. We did breaks on the first few segments. This one I call Step Up or Step In. And here's the game. Here's how we're doing. We're going to shift over to this Cincinnati Bengals. Bengals don't play until Monday, so I'm sure Kenner and these guys will be talking about the Monday Night Football game come Monday. But 2 weeks into the season, 0-2, as the Cincinnati Bengals typically are this time of year, what players I tasked all these guys. I said, hey, give me a player that you think should step up, who should play better, Or give me a player that you think should step in. Someone that should get more snaps, someone that should get more run, someone that should be a bigger impact on this team. So step up or step in. Who wants to lead it off? Jacob, you seem to be the most likely most likely candidate to lead off most segments here.
Yeah, I'll take it. I think mine is certainly a little bit biased because I think there's bigger areas of need on the team, but this is a guy that I'm very excited to see when he gets a bigger role in the offense and one of my favorite players on the entire roster. And Jermaine Burton needs to step in. And that really comes from a point where I don't necessarily have a lot of faith in a lot of these other receivers stepping up.
Yep.
Their overall ability to step up. I have some fun Trent Irwin stats that I shared on Chatterbox Bengals that I'll share here again. After 2 games, Trent Irwin has a PFF grade of 47.4. That ranks 83rd out of 84 qualifying wide receivers. He averages 0.25 yards per route run. That is a quarter of a yard per route run. And Joe Burrow has a QBR of 39.6 when targeting him. Irwin is also only averaging 1.8 yards of separation per target, which ranks 1/12th out of 113 qualified wide receivers and tight ends.
Yes.
He is quite literally one of the worst wide receivers in football when it comes to getting open and when it comes to just making plays. We saw a ball in the end zone hit him square in the face mask and bounce incomplete. He's been completely unacceptable this year, and I think the easiest solution to that is to have Jermaine Burton step in. He obviously will need to step up when he gets to that situation, but first things come first, and he needs more snaps in the lineup. He's our 3rd leading receiver with just 1 catch on the year. That's inexplicable why he's not getting more playing time. He needs to be out there more than he has been.
Yeah.
Ellie Rue, got anyone that you think should step up or step in?
So I will do my step in first, and there's still a 65% chance I mess up the point of the segment. But I think I'm right. And it's Chase Brown needs to step in.
Yep.
Chase Brown needs to see more snaps. I know it's a very early on and limited sample size. He's averaging almost 4.5 yards per attempt. He's efficient. He's quick. He's fast. We know what we did. We know what he did last season when he needed to have that role. I think it would be beneficial to have him come in and get some early down work this season. I think Zach Moss is great, but I think Zach Moss maybe might tail into that third down back where we need him to block. We need him to be ready to catch a pass every once in a while. But yeah, I think Chase Brown is a great running back. I think he's got all the great traits that we need. And I'd love to see him more used than he currently is this season. He's got 7 carries for 42 yards in 2 games this season. I just need to see more. I need to see more, and hopefully Zach Taylor implements him in the game plan going forward.
I think Zach Moss is going to be fine as RB1, and I don't necessarily need Chase Brown to get more reps than Zach Moss. I just want it to be closer to a 50-50 split and not where it currently is, because when Chase Brown comes in the game, he looks like a bat out of hell. He looks like he's shot out of a cannon. I think he had 4 rushes for 31 yards against the Kansas City Chiefs and never had a rush longer than 12. That's pretty efficient. He's obviously the speed guy. He's obviously the different change of pace, and maybe that's the difference, is that you get Zach that's earning every single yard, then you give it to Chase, and he just scampers right through the line. I just think I need to see a little bit more of Chase Brown on the field, because I think his speed, I really like what I see when Chase is out there on the field. Casey Rue, step up or step in?
I'm also going to do my step in, and I think this is going to be one that's way out of left field for you guys, but I liked what I saw from him this last week. I like to see Eric All step in. Yeah. I think he had some flashes there that earned him some more opportunities to get more snaps. I know he played 70% of the snaps, something around that range, week 2. I think he deserves to be possibly even the starter, not just because he's like fantastic at one thing or the other, but he's good at both. He's truly what you're looking for as a tight end in this system, someone that can do both. So I really, really would like to see Eric All step in.
He's not the best blocker or the best receiver in that tight end room, but he is far and away, in my opinion, the most well-rounded tight end. He definitely needs more reps.
Agreed.
Sorry, I'm typing in a reply.
Oh, of course you are.
I'll get back to it. Well, I'll say live on air. Craig Sandlin said, I don't need Chase Brown to get more reps. I just want it to be closer to 50-50 split, so more reps. I thought that it was alluded that I was saying I don't need him to get more reps than Zach Moss. Sorry that you couldn't keep up there, Craig.
I love this show.
Let's do step. I love it.
I love this show.
I hope everyone knows that I don't mean any harm. I'm going to do a step up. And my step up is a guy that I sung the praises when they drafted him last year, or when they signed him last year. I need to see more from Sheldon Rankins. I need to see Sheldon Rankins get into the backfield more. I need to see Sheldon Rankins become more of a piece on this defensive line. When you signed him, we knew that he wasn't going to be, the run-stopping interior lineman. That wasn't what we expected him to be. But I said multiple times, I've said it every time that I talk about Sheldon Rankins, you look at what Super Bowl champion teams do. You look at what has been a constant ingredient in the recent Super Bowl champions. It is a presence on the interior defensive line that gets after the quarterback. That's what Sheldon Rankins was supposed to be. That's where Sheldon Rankins' role was supposed to be on this team, and he's not getting back there nearly enough. He's not getting back there nearly enough. I need him to get after the quarterback more often. I need him to be a shining star of a free agent signing, as we've gotten. I mean, I don't need him to be Trey Hendrickson, but nothing along that. I don't need 15, 20. I just need him to get back there. I need them to be another presence. I need Trey Hendrickson to get some help, and I would like it if it came from the interior. I like it if it came from Sheldon Rankins. So that's my step up. Jacob, you got a step up or another step in?
Step up. I think the step up to me is the guy that actually had a really good game in week 2. I'm going to go back to the tight end room, and it's going to be Mike Gesicki. He had over 90 receiving yards, which is incredible. He made some great plays down the field, but in 2 crucial points so far this season, he hasn't caught the ball.
Yep.
A first down conversion where he was open that would have prevented a Joe Burrow fumble return touchdown that inevitably lost us that game. And then a touchdown grab against New England in week 1 that was he got both hands on the ball and had an opportunity to bring that in for a touchdown and let it get knocked free by the DB. He's a guy that's played great, and he's really done the role that I expected us to sign him for pretty well. But in order for him to be a guy that I truly trust out there in must-win situations, for him to fill in that third down red zone target that I expected him to fill in this year, he needs to be more reliable. And that's the guy that I really want to step up, because I think he's so close to being that reliable guy in those situations that he's a guy that I'm really keeping an eye on over the next few weeks.
My guy is a guy that we've seen before play very, very well. I don't want to sit here and say that he's not going to be that. But from what I've seen this season, and I think there's been a couple of distractions that have kind of ruined his play a little bit. But Jamar Chase, you're going to have to step up. You're going to have to step up. You're wide receiver 1. You have 97 yards and 10 catches through 2 weeks of football. You don't have a touchdown. I need you to step up. I need you to keep your cool. I need you to stay calm under pressure there, level-headed. Don't throw your helmet on the sideline. Just stay calm, guy. We're good. You were a top 5 wide receiver in the National Football League. You have Joe Burrow thrown to you. I don't know if it's the Zach Taylor play calling. I don't know why you're not getting the football. But I need you to step up. I need Jamar Chase to be the guy that he was the past, several seasons, 3 seasons. Because we know you can be that. The contract thing is going to get done when it gets done. I don't think the Bengals front office should have stepped in and offered this deal and made a big mess out of all of it. I don't blame Jamar Chase for that. But we need him to lock it in. Jamar Chase, lock it in. Be wide receiver 1, the one that we all know you can be and will be, and help us beat the Commanders on Monday night. Go for 150 and 2 touchdowns.
Terrible secondary.
So let's see Jamar Chase work. Have him run down the field, and he's going to be open down there somewhere. That's my name.
Casey Root.
I think the biggest impact guy, if he were to work out, step up, play very well, that would have the biggest impact on our team. I think it's a combination between Sam Hubbard and Joseph Osai.
Okay.
It's just one of those guys can find that extra oomph, get to the quarterback, be able to play the run efficiently. Really just be an efficient player. None of those guys are very efficient at the moment. They're one of the worst, I think, at their positions currently. I mean, we had Joseph Osai with a 0% pass rush percentage or something like that, or it was like low 6 or something like that. I can't remember which one it was. I can't remember if it was Sam Hubbard or if it was Joseph Osai, but it's not acceptable. Those are terrible numbers. We really need the edge rushers to step up, and I know Myles Murphy's hurt, and it'll be a couple more weeks before he comes back. But I think you still even need more than that. Even if Myles Murphy ends up playing well, if he ends up being what we think he can be, you still need more. You need more than that. So that's my answer.
It's interesting because I think we've all, and as we're wrapping up on this segment, I think we're all talking about the same things for the most part. Like we've brought up now 3 wide receivers. We need Jermaine Burton to step in. We need Jamar Chase to step up. And then I brought up Sheldon Rankins. I need him to play better. You brought up the same thing. We need to get to the quarterback better, whether it's Joseph Asai or Sam Hubbard, whoever's getting those snaps on the edge. They have to get out of after the quarterback. It's funny that we're all seeing the similar things, the similar roles on this team that need to improve. We're just all talking about it in different ways. So I did my step up first. So I'm going to go back to step in. And, it's funny. I just mentioned this. We brought in, you brought up Jermaine Burton. I apologize. Who'd you say needs to step up on the second time around?
Gesicki.
Mike Gesicki. You said that Mike Gesicki needs to step up a little bit. Current leading receiver on the team, but still he's had a couple drops.
Two crucial drops.
Had that crucial drop. He brought up Jamar Chase. I'm going to bring in one more pass catcher as someone that needs to step in. Someone that I think if you get this ball to him early and often, that it's going to be just, you're going to watch this offense light up. And who else can it be? But it's Drew Sample. Step in, Drew Sample, and get all the snaps at tight end. You get the ball to DS89 in open space. Just watch this offense flourish. What did we do against the Kansas City Chiefs? First 2 games from the line of scrimmage. Drew Sample, and this team scored 25 points against who I think is maybe the best defense in the league. Certainly a top 5 defense in the Kansas City Chiefs. So Drew Sample, step in. Let's get Drew Sample. What's the receiving touchdown record in a season?
Okay, hold on.
Is it like 21?
Most receiving touchdowns.
I think Drew Sample,
NFL
whatever he's
season.
got, we got to get Drew Sample.
Chase that number.
23.
23.
Randy Moss.
Drew Sample can do that. Can you imagine Drew Sample on a vert?
No,
Just
I
right
can't
down
imagine.
the line. DS89. Love that guy. All right, guys. That was step up or step in. I thought that went well.
I saw 2 good ones in the chat that I wanted to add on.
Yeah.
Craig put a good one in the chat. He said Dan Pitcher needs to step in and take play calling from Zach Taylor. I liked that one. And then someone said that the ownership needs to step in and get the Jamar Chase contract done because it's affecting the team.
I like that.
I like both of those answers.
I like those. I've had a long-standing take when it comes to play call, and maybe I'm getting to the point because it seems like the most dissenting opinions when it comes to head coaches here in Cincinnati. It's the fire David Bell for the Reds, and then the people that had been supporting David Bell for years feel like they eventually got beat down, and they're just like, all right, I don't care what happens anymore. When it comes to Zach Taylor, it's that his play calling's terrible. He needs to give up play calling duties, give it to Brian Callahan last year, Dan Pitcher this year. And I, for a long time, I've always said, listen, Zach Taylor was the play caller of the team that took us to the Super Bowl and took us to the AFC Championship. Maybe if we have a better play caller, maybe we win those games. Maybe we win a championship or something like that. All that being put to said, I think that play calling is the most vague thing that you can get mad at as a fan, because I think that it is evergreen. I think you can always say, we need better play call, except for when you're scoring 40 points. No one in New Orleans is saying we need better play call right now. But unless you're scoring 40 points, when it comes down to the wire and you're a Philadelphia Eagles fan and you see what happens on Monday Night Football, you go, well, we need better play calling. We need all this stuff. I think it's a very vague thing, but it doesn't mean that it's not sometimes true. It's not sometimes true. And what I'm saying is, as a Zach Taylor supporter, as someone that has supported Zach Taylor play call, I'm getting closer to being beat down when it comes to him releasing play calling duties. Very notable, he had 1 season of calling plays before he became the head coach of the Cincinnati Bengals, and that was for the Cincinnati Bearcats, and it wasn't a very good year for the Cincinnati Bearcats offense. So, it is what it is.
Top tier college football job.
That's right. That's right.
I just think it's the play calling thing is, and there's no way when you're supporting someone, when you're supporting play calling, to defend it. I guess
Yes.
if it's not
unless
where
you're scoring points,
it's just a vague thing, right? Because that's what we always say is if you score, you could say, oh, play calling's great. If you don't score, it's just an evergreen vague thing that you can't poke at.
I just see the play calling. I just that final drive, the final drive in that Falcons-Eagles game. Do you think like the Bengals could do that? Like I know they could talent-wise. We have Joe Burrow, we have Jamar Chase. I get all that, but I haven't seen a drive like that in a long time from the Bengals. Just an absolutely clinical, quick 5-play. We're just going to throw it downfield and torch a defense. That's just the part of it where I get a little bit frustrating with the play calling because I feel like you could do so much with this offense, and maybe right now without T. Higgins that's a moot point. But I was just watching that drive and I'm like, Kirk Cousins can do this with Darnell Mooney, and I'm like, Joe Burrow can surely do this with Jamar Chase, right? We can throw the ball downfield more than we've been doing that.
I think Everett Henry brings in a good. If we're going to talk about that drive, I think that drive said more about the Eagles' defense.
Sure,
right,
100%. No,
and prevent
100%. And the Eagles' defense and the Chiefs' defense. But
that's the exact point. Is where we're looking exactly at results and what else? Like unless. I need a guy like Kyle Kasky to come in and be like, I don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand why we're running this duo run play in this situation. Like that doesn't make sense to me. When guys like Mark Fetters and I understand where it comes from, where he goes, our red zone play calling is terrible. You think red zone play calling is terrible because you're not getting in the end zone. And you know what? Maybe there's not a better reason to question red zone play calling and be like, hey, why aren't we scoring more? I've long thought that the Bengals have had trouble scoring in the red zone, and most of the time, I believe it is because of bad offensive line play. But when the offensive line is gradually getting better every single year, and I think it's been pretty decently serviceable to this point, it's becoming harder and harder to disagree with that. But it is like. I think it's just a vague thing because if it works, you don't ever question it, and if it doesn't work, you can always question it, whether it's the right call or not, and they just didn't execute it, or sometimes you make the right call and the defense just has an incredible play. Like these things happen. Sometimes you make the right decision. Sometimes you make the right call in that situation, and just the safety makes a 1 in 1,000 play and dives to break up an open pass. Like that happens too. It's just a vague thing that fans, as long as football is popular in this nation, fans will question their play caller. That's just what you do. Unless you're the New Orleans Saints scoring 45 points again. I almost guarantee that there are weeks on weeks, and I think as we sit here in Cincinnati, we can agree Andy Reid, best play caller, maybe the best play caller in the history of the game. But I can almost guarantee that there are weeks throughout a season, weeks last year, when the Kansas City Chiefs didn't look to be the reigning Super Bowl champs that would go on to win the Super Bowl, like we had talks in here about are they a top 10 NFL team? That was a serious conversation we had last year. I put them in my top 5 every single week, and I got laughed at. But I guarantee if you go to the radio in Kansas City when they were going through a skid, there were people having questions about Andy Reid's play calling, about the Kansas City Chiefs play calling. I can almost guarantee it. I can promise it. And San Francisco, they do the same thing when they don't win a Super Bowl or they bow out late in the postseason once again. And Sean McVay's Los Angeles Rams, these are all great play callers, world-renowned play callers, highly respected. But I guarantee that their fans are like, why do we do this? Why do we do this? Play calling was terrible. It's just a vague thing that you can always say. It's evergreen. I could say it on Monday if we win. Play calling was terrible. I don't know. I just think it's something that grinds my gears. Doesn't make it wrong. Like it doesn't make your feelings wrong. It doesn't make your opinion wrong. I'm just saying that it sometimes feels like a lazy opinion about what's going on. So, guys, any other final thoughts on this show? What's our schedule today? So we're gonna do Dialed In next. Tom's sitting outside the studio, so we gotta step aside, let him get ready. We got Chatterbox Reds coming on later this afternoon, and then we've got Chatterbox Bengals live from Champions Grill with an E on Work Road with an E.
That's right. 2 E's.
That's right. 100%.
The biggie.
So again, I'm going to keep plugging it. Again, tonight, 7 o'clock. Hope to see you guys there. Last time it did fill up pretty quick, so if you want to get there a little earlier, feel free. There's a ton of seats. I think the food's pretty good. They've got a ton of TVs. If you're like like me and you go to a sports bar and you want to watch the game, I need to have 500 TVs, even if it's all the same thing. I just need to have the feel of 1,000 TVs, and that's what they have at Champions. So come on down. It's a good time. And you'll get to meet Casey, myself, and Jacob.
That's right.
So please come see
devices.
us.
Every two devices.
They have to be streaming. They have to be streaming, and they got to like.
And they have to like.
You see this thumbs up? There's one right below. Click. That's what they want. You got to like. You got to do that.
Every 2 devices, 1 beer.
One beer. Get
Seems
the
like a
Kona.
good deal.
Get the Kona.
Yeah.
That's
I
what
love
me and
the Kona.
Casey got last time. We had a nice Kona
I
beer.
love the big wave.
We bet on the first touchdown score for Thursday Night Football. Elliot bet on, I think, 22 players. So he's like, "What? Some guy's got to score."
And then he hit the only
And he
one
won.
that would lose him money.
Yes. It was the favorite.
It's amazing how that works.
It is.
You never want to bet the first touchdown favorite, but bet the favorite for a
I'll be
reason.
cooking up 5 more tonight.
I'm probably going to take them all with you.
Thank you.
I know.
I got a crazy one tonight. You ready for this? Are you ready?
You want to give it here? Or you want to give it on Thursday or tonight's show?
Patriots defense first touchdown score.
Oh, I'm already on Patriots defense touchdown score.
Patriots defense first touchdown score. It's about to win me $1 million.
That's a good one. Yeah, no.
As an A-Rod hater,
Sure.
You're in.
as an A-Rod hater, that would be fun for me.
Can we parlay Aaron Rodgers underpassing Patriots defensive touchdown and Patriots plus 3.5?
And drugs used after the game. Take
And
the
trips
over.
to Egypt during mandatory minicamp over half.
Right. Aaron Rodgers. What a guy. What a guy. Yeah, we're not doing that here today. I'll do it, though. I'll do it some other time. Yeah. Thanks, guys, for being here. We got to get together. I know you do the live stream of the shows, but maybe a Sunday where I'm not doing something, because I know we have a couple Sundays coming up in the near future where I have to be at Miami during the Bengals game and stuff like that. But maybe in October sometime we can go to Champions Grill and celebrate as a cohesive unit.
That'd be a
during the Bengals
blast.
game.
I think we're planning on doing the Thursday Night Football game that lines up with the show, doing it there. So
Yep.
that's a great opportunity for everyone to come out for that one if they want to plan ahead.
What's the plus on
That's a good question, Kirby. I'll get in the lab, start cooking. I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
All right, dial in coming up next. Tom's right outside the door. So be tuned.
Take it away.
Casey will redirect you. He'll be live in about 10 minutes. See you guys. I'll see you whenever. See you around.